Because Greece is a very recent country of immigration. As your presence can attest, Greece was a country of emigration. People beat down the doors to get the hell out of Greece for most of the late 19th and 20th century. My parents left, I thought, because of job-related issues. When I was older and they slowed down enough to talk to me, I asked them, I wanted to get their story. They said, no, we were both okay. Your mother already had a trade, I had a trade. We were bored. We wanted to go to Canada. My dad wanted to be a movie actor. His father would never allow such a thing, so I thought in Canada, maybe he'd have a chance. Didn't work out that way. His first job was as a pizza delivery man, but then he quickly found work as a carpenter, which was his trade. But he thought he would go back, as did my mother, who was a hairdresser by training. So they were bored. So the reasons for immigration are multiple. Typically they are economic. People want to make a better life for themselves, and especially for their children. Sometimes they're political, and Greece has been subject to political turbulence, as many of you know, over the course of the 20th century. People left because of their political affiliations or because they felt that the situation was too unstable. So economics, politics, boredom. Greece has become less boring, richer, and more politically stable of late. And those factors have helped it, or caused it, to become a country of immigration. Greece has been a member of the European Union and remains a member for now. And that fact, and the relatively higher standard of living that it buys Greece, serves to create a magnetic pull in the region. Couple this with the end of the Cold War in 89, 90, 91. Why is that important? The end of the Cold War opened the exit doors to people who, up until then, could not leave. It was virtually impossible to leave Albania until the communist regime fell. It was very difficult to leave most East Bloc countries until they experienced a transition to democracy. I'm just going to rearrange my papers because they keep slipping. That's better. So, getting richer, less boring, and more stable in combination with the opening of doors to countries around Greece led to a fundamental change. And Greece became an immigration country. Yeah? And this all happened very quickly in the early 1990s. Greece is now an immigration country with well over 10% of its population born in another country. That's the official figure as of 2001. I think the official figure, I have to check, is now in the teens, but the Greek Interior Minister was quoted in Tovima recently saying the real number, if one counts undocumented people, is 20%. What is the percentage of foreign-born in Canada? An immigration country par excellence. Does anyone know? It's about 18% in Canada proper. So you can see that Greece has gone from being a country of emigration to an important, at least in terms of the importance of immigration, an important country of immigration. What was the number in 1991? 2%. 2% foreign-born, 7% in 2001, 7 to 10 depending on whose statistics you read. Now, between 13 and 17 depending on who you read, and according to the foreign minister, who probably has the best data, upwards of 20% foreign-born. Greece is an immigration country. This is astonishing. This is a natural experiment. The demographic complexion of the country has been transformed, particularly in the cities. So I said I'd done very little research on immigration in Greece. That's a slight lie. In 2001, I did a little bit in April of 2001. I went because I was fishing for a dissertation question. I was trying to make Greece fit because I speak Greek. I know the country. It didn't work out. But I did find some neat things out, and I talked to someone who had a handle on these things, and he said 1 in 7 births in 2001 was to a non-Greek, an immigrant. 1 in 7 births in an Athenian hospital. Greece is changing. A whole new generation of young people is being raised whose parents are immigrants. This raises questions about membership. The same questions I alluded to a moment ago. What rights do these immigrants have in Greece? Do these immigrants have access to citizenship? How has Greece managed the politics of religious difference and accommodation? I think these are all questions that inevitably arise as a consequence of social transformation via immigration. Now, as I said, I haven't won the grant, I haven't done the work, so I can't answer the questions at all adequately tonight. But I'll end, and this has been a short talk, I hope it hasn't been too short, and I'm happy to entertain any questions you have. I'll end with a couple of points about citizenship and religious accommodation. With regard to citizenship, Greece was the stingiest country in all of Europe with regard to citizenship. So even countries that are known as being very difficult to gain citizenship in, like Germany, the annual number of acquisitions, of naturalizations, was in the thousands. In Greece, it was in the dozens. It was completely discretionary. You could put in an application, wait. They could tell you it failed. If you ask why, etc. It was a system, a policy designed to be exclusive. Who had better access to citizenship? People like you. People who could claim some descent through their parents and grandparents. Even then, the process was extremely bureaucratic and mind-numbingly ridiculous. But if you were willing to put up with it, you would get your passport eventually, and you would have access to the EU space. For non-Greeks, it was virtually impossible. This changed recently. Does anyone know when the Greek citizenship law was reformed? April of last year, under the PASOK government, they introduced a new law which improves access via naturalization, but more importantly, I should just back up a moment. So not only was naturalization very difficult, the children born of immigrants in Greece had absolutely no right to Greek citizenship in the past. Right? So you could be born in Greece, you could be raised in Greece, you could be the top student in your primary school. You could carry the Greek flag in the parade, as happened with several Albanian descent children who were the top students. But what was their status? Albanian. This has changed under the new law. The new law now doesn't grant citizenship upon birth, but I think after the age of 5, parents of children can go to a local office of the government, make an application, and have that application granted as of right for their children to become Greek citizens. This, I think, is a step in the right direction for a country that has become an immigration country. Greece will not perpetuate domestic-born foreigners. Those children will have an equal standing in society because they will have equal rights. The right to vote, the right to do their military service, for better or worse. The right to be called Greeks. Okay, so there's a glass half full story. It's not all good. What about religious accommodation? And for Canadians, you might say the politics of multiculturalism. I'm afraid there, the story is a glass half empty. Athens still lacks a proper mosque, an official mosque, despite promises to have one built in time for the Athens Olympics. I remember this. There was some pressure on the government of the day. And they said, of course, we have a place by the airport, which, if many of you have visited Greece, you know the airport is in the middle of nowhere. But they said, no, we have a spot right by the airport. It has